right? But because so many people who like watch these films and stuff like that, most people go, "Oh, Superman, that's great," but most people aren't as literate in comics to realize that you don't need to take this fake, crappy version of a Superman, of a black Superman. There is one that really genuinely exists, right? And
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
demand that. So I feel like
Honestly,
a lot
I
of people, I
mean,
feel like a lot of black men are just gonna watch it just for the feels, right? So I feel like the movie will probably do okay. I don't think he'll do amazingly like Black Panther because it doesn't have the whole finesse. It doesn't have that certain je ne sais quoi that says this is a love letter to you black people. This is like us connecting, right? I feel like it's clearly going to be a money grab, but I feel like enough
yeah.
people are gonna catch feelings that they're going to support it. So I can't really
I,
say
I,
anything on that.
I, I mean, I honestly, I agree with you. I think some people black people are gonna watch it and be like, do you know what? Yeah, we'll take what we can get, I guess. But I mean, but then I mean, it's gonna be. I reckon I'm feeling that it's gonna be like the whole Dragon Ball Evolution thing, of where it's just gonna be a debacle. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna be
Oh yeah,
even
yeah, yeah.
because my point about because
It's
even
just
if
such a shame
because
because yeah.
Is
Go on.
because even
After.
my point, even my point about it is would be like even if it's good, what do I do with it? Because it just lose because it's just like, okay, well, you've just played, because though it's good, you've played you've played me as a black person, because yes, it's good. um yeah, the movie's good and everything, but you could have easily made this something this quality at the same time, but while also using source material, while also using something
Exactly.
that has
Exactly. It
historical
just wild to see it. It's just like
significance.
in the greater DC universe, there's even a species of all right, okay, what's it? You know Kryptons, right? There was another
Yeah,
character who was almost like a Superman, and he was I think he was a lantern. He was a lantern, right? Because he had the power ring, but he was also from a species that was a cousin to Kryptonians.
yeah,
I
the
swear, I can't remember his
Daxamites.
name.
Maybe
Huh?
he might have been a Daxamite, maybe.
Yeah, but like you like the fact that there's a cousin species to Kryptonians just shows that the greater world is so huge. I just like the whole idea of a black Superman is great. We have Superman like characters in all different types of worlds and universes, but the problem is it's just that it's just not genuine. So many white people are complaining that they're just taking certain characters and making them black. Like if they're a much lesser character and their race isn't significant to the character, just to kind of diversify the cast because we are in 2021, I'll take the hit. I think it's fine. But sometimes I'm just like, just create more black characters. Yeah. Right? Because that just solves everything. Because I watched a YouTuber ages ago who was talking about before The Witcher came out, how people say these black people could play The Witcher. And he was saying, yeah, I understand. Because he's also a fan of
Uh,
the games. He plays the games. And he's like, yeah, I understand like how one of these black people could play a Witcher. And
but that's not
what's that black guy? You know that really popular black guy, that British black guy. And he's like, oh, well, this guy could play The Witcher because
oh
he looks like a black version of him.
Idris
Like
Alba.
he's really popular, really charming.
Yeah, he's also one of the candidates as well for to that people are posting up to play blacks. But then
He's too old.
anything
He's
that's
too
good,
old.
not for Valzod, for Superman,
Yeah,
yeah,
I know,
but
but like
but not for Valzod.
they want to do a few like Tony, they want to do a few movies, right? That's like over a period of 5 years. He's gonna age a lot. He's already an older man. I think they need to choose a younger man, somebody 25 or
Okay,
30,
but okay,
right?
okay, but look at
Simply so that he doesn't look too much older in the newer movies. So
okay, but look at
so
okay, but
anyway,
look, you do realize you do
my
realize
point
like
being with the guy, um
there's so many there's so many superhero characters who are like super old, like Tony Stark is over 50. Nick Fury
yeah,
is
but Tony Stark
72.
is also a human being. Tony Stark is also a
Mm,
human being,
yeah,
right?
actually, that's a good
Whereas the
point. Good
Superman
point.
character is meant to be someone who ages very slowly, right? Even Calzone this doesn't age super fast. Okay, anyway, back to
Maybe
my
they just
point.
swap him
What I
out.
was trying to
Sorry,
okay,
Karen,
anyway,
sorry,
back to my
continue.
I completely lost my point now.
Yeah, sorry. Uh, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sorry about that. Yeah, I was just saying that maybe they'll just swap him out. Like,
Oh right, I got it, I
I
got it, I got
never
it.
never know.
So
Yeah, go.
uh, okay, I got it. So anyway, he was saying that as much as it would be okay for them to have a black person playing The Witcher, the guy who wrote the Witcher books, right? It's all based on Nordic, lore and fairy tales, right? So like obviously the the Witcher series kind of has brown people and stuff like that, and even the writer is fine with it. But like in the general games and stuff like that, having the Witcher, who's based on like Nordic storytelling, folklore and stuff like that, be played by a black person is kind of tone deaf. And the truth of the matter is that you could have just written in a black character, right? It's like they just want to. It's just not. It's not genuine, because genuinely wanting to include black people or like people of color into a story is just to write a person who happens to be black, right? Because I swear there was a writer ages ago who gave this perfect advice. If you want to write a person of color, write the person normally and then just change them to be a different color. That's the perfect advice that he gives to any white writer. Write the character normally, write everything that happens to him, and then after you're done, make them a person of color. Because if you make them a person of color straight away in your mind, you make that a whole part of their identity, and that's not just what people of color are, right?
Yeah,
And I think that's kind of it's like important to the
you don't
story.
you don't walk around thinking, oh, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. No, you think I am who I am, and it's the outside white, and it's the outside world that identifies you
That
as a
reminds you that
being
you're black.
that reminds you different, that reminds you you're black, and you're therefore thus being different. Um,
Yeah,
and
I've
so
never
yeah,
like
and
growing up has always been weird. I never thought that I was black until somebody reminded me I was black, and it was always a white person who had to remind me that I was black.
mm,
But it was like it was never always in a harsh way. It was them to say, "Oh, I just want you to know that I don't have a problem with black people," type of thing. And it's like
and
I never even thought about
it's
it
like
until you
nigga,
pointed it out,
and,
showing that you were the one with the problem this entire time.
and I'm just like, you know that it's that
And then you feel
uncomfortable,
icky and
it's
self
that
conscious.
uncomfortable moment. Oh, I
Yeah,
like
you
black
just
people,
feel.
and it's like, I don't like white, I don't like this you particularly, not because you're white, but because of you.
Yeah, like but it just creates this icky self-conscious feeling, because when I'm walking around living my life, I'm not like I'm black, 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 I'm black. I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking I'm a person. It's always other races of people, like especially like white people, and then like white identified people. Like I'm not gonna lie, I've met a lot of Asian, like East Asian and like Middle Eastern types and like Indian people who are like very white identified, and it's like they're the ones who have to kind of remind you like, oh, I just want you to know that I don't have a problem with black people. And I'm just like you brown, like you're a person of color. Like, we're having this conversation. Are you okay? Are you okay?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
but
mean,
but
yeah,
I'm not like you. The white man treats me like his pet, and I'm just like, no, you're not okay, are you? You're not okay. I'm gonna just call the. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is this
I'm not.
the Chinese embassy? Come get your boy.
So yeah,
Is this the Indian
but
embassy? Come get your girl,
but
because they need to
so
like
yeah,
be rehashed.
but yeah. So back to the point. Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I was so excited about when they said, "Oh, we're gonna do a black Superman." I was like, "Oh yes, Malzahn and everything," and then suddenly they just kind of, and it's just like they got rid of Henry Cavill, and I'm just like, well, on his birthday, just the disrespect. I was like, wow, look about.
To be
I
honest,
mean, that it was a diss. I'm not gonna lie, that they
sorry, there's
dissed
been
him,
rumors
man.
that Henry Cavill is very arrogant, to be honest, and that he's a bit of a dickhole.
Okay, but
Like, and
okay,
I understand. Henry Cavill is a rich heterosexual white man who's also looks like he was carved by the gods himself to drive women insane and men insane as
why not
well.
be
But
arrogant?
like, I understand why he would be
I mean,
arrogant.
some men.
But like, apparently he's an arrogant dick. But also, it's been known for years that they've been always trying to f him over on his contract because of how he came
Yeah,
in. He didn't come in like you were right. He didn't come in as a big celebrity, but he made Superman. He made
he
Superman, and
made
the
the
guy was like, "Yeah,
character
cut me a fatter
lovable
check
again.
because I'm like making you rich." And they were like, "No, we don't really want to do that." And Henry Cavill's like, "What do you mean you don't want to do that? Like I made dreams come true out here." And he's like, and they're like, "Nah, Henry, sorry, nah." So they've always been dissing him. It's been a
Okay,
rumor for ages that they were dissing him.
in terms of okay, because I see some of their point of view, because that's some of their point of view is that like they expected the Man of Steel movie to have grossed a lot more than it did, and and the critics almost tried to crucify the damn movie. They were like, "Oh, Dark Superman, he killed somebody, blah blah blah. We don't want this." And but the public was like, "We love Henry Cavill, we love the character, we love that he's Superman and everything." And so it was a mixed bag between the amount of money that the movie made, and the critics and the official critics really dissing the movie at the same time, versus
To be
the
honest,
amount of people who support the fans who Henry Cavill brought in and who fell in love with Henry Cavill as Superman. And so it's more
yeah,
like,
he
so
was a
when they wanted
Superman
to
that
make the
definitely
next movie,
represented the age.
yeah, so when they wanted to make so when they were considering making the second movie, then it was no longer a guarantee whether this movie was going to make a lot more money again. So they were like, well, we need to kind of, okay, be more reasonable and make a little bit more cuts. And so therefore they were like, we're not going to give you the big bucks at the same time, because the movie did not gross the amount that we was expecting at the same time. Though it did well, it just didn't get to the level. And though you did deliver on your side in terms of character, in terms of the fan base and everything, but the
Yeah, but
reality
that
is
wasn't him, right?
the
Because the
product.
movie became, it was like Constantine, you know? That movie is like a cult classic. Whereas the Superman movie, the first Superman movie with Henry Cavill, is like it was a really big movie, everybody watched it, but it gained so much more popularity after the years of watching it, when superhero movies became more and more prevalent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's so weird that it was like just right on. It's like the Henry Cavill Superman movie, the first one, was just right on time, but also a little too early for its time. Do you know what I mean? Because if they made that movie now today with Henry Cavill, like the check, the money that would come after that movie came out would be ridiculous, because we've already created an established baseline for hero movies, and Marvel basically kind of almost perfected the formula. I don't really like how Marvel goes about doing their hero movies, but yeah, pretty much perfected the formula at this point.
yeah,
And throwing big
yeah.
bucks behind these movies is like an accepted standard now. But when that first movie came out, it was right on time, but just before its time at the same time. But everyone was like, oh, it didn't really gross that much money. But at the same time, like a couple years after the movie came out, it just grew and grew and grew in popularity. So I kind of understand that they're just like, oh, we didn't make that much money. But I think it's just them being tone deaf. And like a lot of the critics that are watching the Superman movie, I feel like I feel like online critics are better than like the traditional critics these days, because they're so tone deaf to the actual effects of culture on films. Whereas nowadays, when you go online, you get like this beautiful in-depth idea about a movie, but then you get cultural context from a normal person, right? They're like, oh, this movie's like this, and it works with this time because blah 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 blah. Whereas when they were complaining, oh, we didn't really want a dark Superman, this and this. It's like they literally forgot the movies that came before it, which nobody resonated with because we were going through depression, and we want a Superman. We want that fantasy, but we want him to fly through our world, not a fantastical, unrealistic version of our world that's technicolored. Our world is grey, so therefore he should fly through a grey sky.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the Marvel movies. Like, don't get me wrong, I think the Marvel movies, they very much formulated how the way a Marvel movie should be, kind of thing. But I also like, but the flip side of the DC movies, that is much more darker toned, is much more grounded
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
damages that are happening at the same time. These are people with incredible abilities who damage and destroy and so many things. And so yeah, so
And the
there's a
world is
lot to
actually
it.
scary. It doesn't feel like a buddy
Yeah,
movie. The world is
yeah,
actually scary.
yeah.
And that was the problem. Oh, now that you mention it, that was the problem with was it John Snyder or Josh Whedon? I can't remember. You know the
Uh,
first cut, right? That nobody liked. That was really very
Joss
buddy
Whedon,
buddy
Joss
movie
Whedon,
that made the Flash look like a moron half the time.
Joss Whedon.
Oh, was it his
It,
cut? I thought it was
was
the
his
Josh
cut.
Whedon cut that was the better cut.
No, it was the Snyder
No, no,
cut's
no,
the
no.
better
Yeah, it
cut.
was Josh Whedon. Huh? Sorry.
It was the Snyder cut is the original
It's the
director
better
who
cut.
was
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
You're
is the
right.
better one.
So the Josh Whedon cut was very much, and I was watching side by side clips as well of how Snyder and Whedon went about the movie. Like when you do the scene where Superman comes back and he's all traumatized and stuff. In the first one, it's like funny. It's like a little bit terrifying because oh no, Superman's gonna kill us, but it's also like that tiny bit terrifying, right? But when you watch the
Yeah,
Snyder version, it has weight to it. Like it's just
yeah,
the small cuts that he made that completely changed everything. And I feel like that's the
yeah,
problem that I have with the Marvel movies. I don't get excited about watching them because it almost feels like nothing is at stake because everyone's gonna laugh and joke at the end of it.
yes,
Whereas
yes,
Justice League is like,
yeah.
what
I
you did
agree.
is wrong and you
Well,
messed up.
Yeah, and it's like because if you look at the Joss Whedon one, like the bit where Superman gets hit, he's thrown into the bit where Superman flies off after coming back and flies off onto his monument and sees his female, and he grabs Superman. He goes, "Do you bleed?" And it's like, yeah, that's funny, but it takes away a lot from what it was. Like he is traumatized. That he doesn't know who he is. There's so many things that he should be going through his head that yeah, he sees Batman, but he's not seeing the human that is Batman. He's seeing the thing that is Batman, and his enemy and stuff like that. And it's like, but then he makes this joke of, "Do you bleed?" And it's like it just takes it, and the line
It
is
just
good in terms
it
of what
takes
it
all the
was because
tension out of the room, right? We're supposed to
irony,
be tense. It takes all the
but it
tension out
takes
of the
away,
scene.
but it does, yeah, it takes a lot of meaning away from it. Whereas the Snyder cut, it's very much like, there's no forgiveness. There's no way that the people that he does not know Batman, he does not know Wonder Woman, he does not know, because he doesn't know these people. Because at the end of the day, this is what made it such a great scene, because he wasn't flying as Superman, he was flying as Clark Kent. So, and the
Yeah,
reality is, these people did
yeah,
not know him as Clark Kent. They knew of Superman, the powers, the things he tries to represent in the public, versus
yeah.
Clark
They
Kent,
just
the
didn't know him
man.
as a person at all. They didn't know what he
Exactly.
wanted or his wishes. Like when he
You know,
died, it seemed like he just wanted to be at peace, and him and Batman bringing him back was just an abomination to that.
was a selfish thought, in the fact that he's a necessary force to protect the world. You
Yeah,
know,
well, Superman is,
and
but
yeah,
Clark Kent deserves to be laid to rest, and that's the difference.
exactly.
Because even though he's Superman and everything like that, he's still a man, like facing against terrifying things, and that's why the Snyder Cut is so dark, because it's so real to that. Yeah, he's this powerful man and everything like that, but he still gets slapped around by even more powerful forces and facing these over and over again, and looking at the world that he's trying to protect get destroyed. It's traumatizing. He may be the man of steel, but his brain isn't made of steel. So it really, and I really feel like the Snyder version really brought home that what Batman did was like amoral as hell. Like it was not ethical. Like Superman, we needed Superman, but Clark Kent deserved to be laid to rest.
Yeah, and it's one of, so yeah, and this is and it's just what, and fundamentally, going back, if you was to go back to the whole point of this conversation, fundamentally, white Superman versus white Superman, Clark Kent, and black Superman. I guess Clark might be Clark Kent, or might be just Kal-El. Either way, his name is Kal-El. So black Kal-El versus white Kal-El. It's two different storylines, because the only other way to compare it would be the other character, which would be a different character, which would be from the Marvel universe, would be is what's his name? Uh what's his name? Luke Cage. Luke Cage, man, he's invulnerable, and he shows his face, and he walks around, and bullets bounce off him, and so he protects Harlem, and that's his ground and stuff like that. But he works, but he had to go, he went to jail, as a black man. He came back as a black man, tried to hide his powers and abilities and stuff, trying to stay out of the radar and stuff like that, and he didn't want to go out being a superhero. So there's a fundamental difference between being black Superman and white Superman, because the experience
Exactly.
of the
Just
black
making
man
it black
changes the whole
makes it so
thing.
different.
Yeah, so you can't just take you can't just take an iconic character that's always been predominantly white, that represents so many things, that goes through so many other life skills and things, and faces abilities and stuff like that, and understands that he's slightly different, but if he hides his abilities, he can be on a relatively accepted way, versus a black man who, even if he hides his abilities, he's not going to be accepted. He's going to face all these other dangers. He's going to face
Exactly. Exactly.
police brutality. It's like the guy.
Yeah, but remember,
It's
like Superman grew up in Kansas, right? He grew up in like a backwards, like
predominantly
sorry, people from Kansas, but the way that
no,
it's
no,
depicted in pretty much every story, that he grows up in a small backwoods hillbilly area, right? You honestly think that like deep balls deep in the South, that
predominantly
where the majority of like racism happened, like, well, I guess not the majority, but like it was like concentrated. That him growing growing up as a black person, and not just a black person who's different. That he's gonna have the same experience as Clark Kent, where they're small town people, but they have really nice values and stuff like that. No, there's going to be a conversation between his parents and him, not just about, oh, you're different, but you being different makes you way more in danger because you're black, right? Because it's not like you're just a white person walking through and you're going to be careful not to stand out, because other white people are going to see you, they're not going to care. But if you're black, right, especially in a place like Kansas, the way it's depicted in like the shows and the movies, is like they are already watching you. They are already watching you, waiting for something to be wrong
Well,
so that they
exactly,
can call you out.
exactly. And and which is, as I said, which is also the difference between white and between Kal-El, Clark Kent, Kal-El being a white character and being Superman versus Black Kal-El being a black character and being Superman. Because because as a white character he goes from hiding his powers and blending in to revealing these powers and showing and fulfilling all the I guess the Aryan race dream of the Ubermensch,
The all
the
powerful white
superior,
man, the Ubermensch.
the superior, the Ubermensch, the superior man, and all this nonsense, and then hiding, and then going back to Clark Kent and hiding and blending with the people versus a black man who will go from who shows himself as Superman, but saving people's lives and things like that. And suddenly he's not the Ubermensch. I mean, well, yeah, no, he's still because he's not the Ubermensch, because it puts in question the fear and mortality, the ideas of what white America really fears, which is the black man, of the black community really standing up and deciding, I want a war, I want to fight for what's right, because you guys have been treating me like shit all this time. And then so
Yeah.
him standing up as Superman is completely fulfills all their fears, because and it will give them it gives the government a completely different reaction, because they're not going to be like, oh, actually maybe we should just watch him. They're going to be like, we need to do something about it immediately, because
Exactly.
this
And
could
when
incite a complete riot.
yeah, but when Superman, see, the issue is when Superman first came along, people were a bit like, oh, we're a bit worried about him. But in general, they quickly accepted him because of the social currency that white people inherit, that they're like inherently good or personal authority or trustworthy. Whereas if a black man comes in and he's completely selfless and stuff like that, even though so many black people are so forgiving, it hurts. Like it genuinely hurts that you want to cry, right? If he's flying around saving people and not asking for anything in return, they're going to sick the entire government and the army on him, and they're going to work their asses off to figure out his identity, right? They're not just going to leave
And
him alone to fly through the skies. They can't accept, like a white supremacist cult-like society can't accept a black man flying through the clouds, being above them. They can't accept that. And also, as a black man moving through the world, his experience is going to be so different. So when he comes out to fly and save the people, it's not going to be like Superman, like, oh, I'm just a naturally good person, blah, blah, blah. He's going to come out saving the people and thinking, how am I going to do this? Are they going to accept me? Me just helping people is going to put me in danger. As soon as I do anything wrong, they're going to crucify me for it. And then he's also going to think
yeah,
that the fact of the matter is, this world doesn't accept me. Yeah, just as a black
I
person, not even as an alien, this world doesn't accept me. Should I even
yeah,
save these people? Should I even save them?
because it even goes back to the other point of like, okay, because he'll go up as Superman, and then when he comes back down and faces all these different types of prejudice, ideas, and power, and puts himself in the limelight. And then when he goes back to being a normal black man, you are still facing all the other prejudice and things that comes with it. It's a never-ending trope of just unbelievable stress and things that you have to try and deal with
And
every single
danger
day.
and fear
So
and the risk of jail.
it's two completely different characters. Like, you can't just say,
Exactly.
I'm going to turn Kal-El into into black Superman. Two completely different characters. I mean, especially because even if you're trying to, because it's even considered on the age of it, biologically, on the age of it alone, because obviously Clark Kent will be about 20, early level Superman when in terms of origin story. So he'll be about 20 to 25 when he shows himself as Superman, which means that's 20. That's about 20. What? That's about 25 years. So 25 years ago, he's like what 1995. 1995, 1996. So he's grown up in the era of where gangster rap. He's grown up era gangster R&B and all this,
Yeah, he's a
and all
millennial.
this.
Yeah, he would be a millennial, right? So he would be. It's like one of those things where you're just old enough to realize how crappy the 90s and the 80s were, right? So you're just old enough but then at the same time, you're young enough to be affected by this new society of social media, hyper focus on appearance, hyper focus on your personal brand as opposed to you as a person, all the fakeness out there, like all the social, like when you're a millennial and if he's like 25, it's like you're just old enough to realize how crappy the 90s are, but then you're just young enough to be affected by the hyper violence and hypersexuality of the society we live in today. We don't know what kind of man he would be, right? In this
Yeah,
world, like what kind of man he would be.
because
He would not be the Superman we know.
because don't forget, because don't forget, throughout the 2000s and stuff, we're not even living in the world of social media yet. We're living in the world of government media. We're living in the world of predominantly government media, where the government control, where roughly institutional news is coming out. So and at those times, whatever the government said, he's a gangster, or a black person's a gangster, a white person's just disturbed, and it's pandering. It's one of those things that's forcing people to constantly try to believe. You end up believing that, and as a black man himself, you end up absorbing some of that nonsense at the same time, And so
Yeah, that's true.
so as he's going on,
They might just call him a super thug. He wouldn't even be Superman. They may just actually just call him a super thug.
you know what I mean? Oh,
I'm like, oh
my
my god,
chair
does
is
that mean we
missing.
get a
Somebody stole
Superman
it.
with a gold chain flying around in a hoodie? Because I might be open to that. I might be open to that. It's like, oh my god, it's Superman, and he just comes as like, doon, 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 doon,
I
doon,
mean,
doon. And he's just like,
I mean, okay. In my opinion, I would never. I mean, I think because I would just be playing. That would literally be playing into the white representation of what a black man would do if he
yeah, yeah,
had
yeah,
superpowers. You know what I'm saying? So I just
yeah,
think
yeah. That's
I just
true.
think it's a bit. I just think it's a lot. I just think, wow, you know what I mean? It's just a different character. It's a massively
Yeah,
different
yeah. That's
character.
why we just need Cal. That's why I feel like we need Cal Zod. I feel like this is for me
Bowser,
personally.
yeah.
Like, 'cause you know, I write. So for me personally, this is why when I do characters, it's like I always, all right, if I'm making them based in our world, I don't try to sugarcoat their, like, especially the characters black. I don't try to sugarcoat their experience as a black person, right? I make it a part of their experience. So even if another character is being all nice to them, like if the character's not that great and they have like microaggressions and stuff like that, I write it into the story because I just feel like it's so real. I feel like that's just how it is. And if there's a black character that doesn't have any baggage, then they can't be from our world, right? Like they're either weirdly sheltered and super ignorant, and nobody really wants to, watch a character like that, or they just can't be from our world. And I think Cal Zod really, really kind of, fits and defines that, yeah, because he's not from our world. I mean, from his world, they probably have races like we do, but they don't see it as binary as us. They see like, oh, this is a
What
brown,
what
this is a
he's
brown guy from blah blah blah. But they're all the same species.
okay,
They recognize
but
that. So him coming out, he's not gonna have that
the
baggage. So he's gonna come down and be like, "Yo, I'm just here to save everyone." They're like, "Oh my
no,
god, a black
but
person!" And he's like, "What's that?"
here's the history of Valzod. Valzod is not from Krypton. He's from a different planet. He's from
Yeah,
a
I know,
different
but I'm saying
planet.
he's not from Earth,
But
so
he
he's not
but he
socialized to be
no
black.
no
He's
he
probably from a
no
place
but he's
where there
black.
are just different colors. That's it.
But he comes here as a baby as well.
Oh,
So he
oh, it
comes
comes as
here
a baby as well.
he comes here as a baby as well.
That changes
So
everything.
and essentially what happens was he basically imitates the first kind of species that he sees, and he comes and
Oh, okay.
Valzod
So,
and the history of Valzod is and the history of the Val character as well is that basically he also is like what's the word he arrives around like he arrives like maybe like 70s, 60s, and 70s, and all the way to,
Oh,
and he lived a long
that's really
time all
different.
the way to the modern age kind of thing. So it's a completely
That's
different
really different.
storyline, completely different character
Yeah.
and stuff before he becomes all this thing. Um,
Okay. There's somebody's
And
left the.
so, wow, I don't even want to interrupt this because this is so super, super amazing and interesting, and cool. So, for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was so excited because it just felt like, at least from my perspective, they were kind of saying, hey, the leader of the Avengers are gonna be a black man, and y'all, America and the world, you're just gonna have to deal with that. And doing that internal conflict of like, no, there's a white man that is now being assigned by the government to be the new Captain America. And then he taking back that power of like, nah, like, I'm gonna be the new Captain America. And I just feel like, the way I see it, it's like a big middle finger to everyone that's white in America. I love it.
That's actually a really good point. That's
oh,
a
I mean,
really,
okay,
really good point. But the way that they did
that,
it is different, right? They didn't just rehash a story. They actually explored the identity crisis that comes and like, based it on like a real history, like in America of what it means, to become like
yeah.
the new Captain America. So they did it in a way that was genuine. They did it in the sense that, oh, remember that time where they were experimenting on black people? Yeah, that wasn't the first soldier, and this isn't the only serum, and this is how we treat black people that serve their country in America. But now it's like, then it's like, well, we put it into our perfect white man, but he's not who you think he is. He's actually a better person than you, and he actually has, real ethics and morality. And then he passes it on to the next generation, but maybe it's not who you thought it would be, but it's someone who really represents the heart of America and is also kind of, you know, not like fixing it, but making right the past history.
Yeah, I think you kind of you mentioned all the right things there, because I think Falcon and Winter Soldier, hands down, they did do they did do it right. Like, because even when I was researching the background of it, they got a actual they got an actual black writer, or somebody with experience in terms of like how a black character would respond to this kind of thing before and who basically was like, no, we're not gonna, because at times they were asking the question, oh, should we kind of take this down a little bit? And she was like, no, we're gonna go in, we're gonna explain that, no, like if it falls into the real history of black people being experimented on for
Oh
the
yeah.
sake of the cure for white people to be acceptable for white people. So there was a black super soldier before there was a Captain America, who was then
Oh yeah.
suddenly was put in the shadows. He was put in the shadows. He was locked away. He was hunted. Even though when the experiment happened, you're talking like his men were left. His men were left when the experiment happened in terms of the storyline of the Falcon and Winter Soldier. When the experiment happened, there was like about 10 to 20 of them, the black people that took this potential serum, whatever, and only one of them survived. This one of them, when he did the same thing that Steve Rogers did, took himself and went and go and rescued his men and brought them back, only for them to basically, because they were captured behind enemy lines back at the time in the German war times, and even after that, managed to rescue his men, took him back, and every single one of them still died, apart from him and apart from himself. And then the government, then after they saw that this experimented on him, just to find out, okay, why does it work? How does the serum work? And then once they extracted all that, they then gave it to Steve Rogers because they knew it was gonna, because they already did use the black person as the lab rat. They already
Yeah,
did all
yeah,
the things that they
that's
needed to
true.
do. And then from that, he then went, and then from that they then threw him in jail. They threw him in jail and basically discarded him and
Wow.
removed him from the history, which is what happened, which is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
is Black American
Like,
history, fact, Black
I mean,
history.
like, so much of history has been lost or whitewashed or destroyed. Like, it's
Yeah,
sad. Oh, there's another message.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I wanted to address the point of what what Arista also said, was that basically that, um, yeah, I think
Yeah.
they explored they explored the Black history and everything like that. But it's also when he became, because when he became the when he finally when he got when Steve Rogers gave him the shield. What was great about Steve Rogers was, and I think the whole storyline of the Falcon and Winter Soldier was the fact that basically it was about the idea. Was it the super serum that made Captain America, or was it the man that made the super serum, or was it the man that made Captain America and happened to have the super serum? And the idea was that
Oh
it wasn't
yeah.
it
Oh
was
yeah, I'm with you now.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
like
was the
I get
man.
what you mean. Is it like it's like the man behind the mask, right? It's like
Yeah,
did Captain America have his mojo and give people the hope because of the super serum, or was it the heart inside the chest, like the beating heart inside the chest
yeah,
that made him
and
Captain America, right? That made
and
everyone be
and
like, oh wow,
and
you know?
the reality of it was they proved the point in because Steve Rogers gave Captain America Steve Rogers Captain America gave passed the baton, passed the shield to
To the
to the
man he thought
Falcon,
was worthy to succeed him.
exactly. And he was like, and he was just like, I'm just not worth. He just couldn't. The legacy that Steve Rogers had put placed upon that, the legacy that Steve Rogers as Captain America had done was a mantelpiece where, as a man, as a genuine man, as a person, as a soldier, you just think to yourself, as a normal man at the same time, not a super soldier, but as a normal man who just he just felt lucky to have fought with one of the best people that there was, or superheroes that there was. He was just like, nah, I can't. I just don't think I can live up to that mantle. So what I'll do is I will give this shield back to the government to put in the museum, and leave it as an ornament, as a symbol of how to be, of representing all the right things. But then what did the government do? Let's try and let's choose another Winter Soldier so we can get public support, so we can manipulate the public to say that we're
Right,
doing
the
all the right things,
masses.
so
Yeah.
we can have as Captain America under our thumb. So they chose a typically blue-eyed blonde character
Yeah, all American
who had
white
all
guy.
who had all the training, who had all the savings of a soldier and everything like that, and then the experience and everything. And then in the end, in the end, the guy proved that he wasn't the right character. He wasn't the right person for the job.
Because
He wasn't the person. He just wasn't going to live up
he
to the
didn't have the
expectations.
substance of character which was required, right? Because you know when you grow
Exactly.
up in school, it's always like, oh, don't judge people by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. That was like a massive representation of that. You chose this guy, yeah, oh, it'd be fine, and what you didn't do any tests to see that he was like a total psycho. Oh, we just assumed that he'd be okay because he was white. Okay,
And then,
so
but what was
yeah,
I think what should have been prevalently observed behind it all was also that the was also that the fact was after he failed, because his friend died. He Okay, let's say black friend, I guess Black Bucky, you could call him. His friend was murdered, and it was the
okay,
most tragic thing that could ever happen to him, right? And he just lost his mind and he killed this person in the public. And but as soon as that happened, and as soon as it went public and everything, yeah, the real thing was the government. It wasn't that the government wanted to just be like, oh, actually, we have to you can no longer be Captain America. It was more the idea that because it was public, the government had no choice but to say, actually, we can't accept you as Captain America anymore because you did this in public. It wasn't because that you did it; it was because you did it
yeah,
in public,
yeah,
and so
because you did in
therefore we
public
have to
because they
follow the
only
same
care about
steps.
image. Yeah. All
Exactly.
right. Do you want to play this message?
I'll play it. Okay.
I personally like all my comic book characters to stick to the race that they were when they were created. I want a white Steve Rogers, but I'm happy with having a Sam that's black and takes the mantle of Captain America, because Steve Rogers is still Steve Rogers.
This is my
Whereas I'm
point.
not happy with a black Kal-El Superman, but
Thank
I'd be
you.
happy with a black Kryptonian that takes the mantle. The same way I do not want a white Black Panther, and I
Which is
certainly
my point.
don't want a
Thank
white
you.
Yeah,
Green
entirely.
Lantern.
Bob Gray,
And has
man. Well
everyone
done.
forgotten about John Stewart, the Green Lantern? He's a great
Yeah,
character.
thank you.
Exactly.
Oh,
We
man.
just want quality. Like, we don't want you to erase characters that already exist that are loved. We just want quality characters that, you know, that like that they're their own people. They're their own authentic people in that world, right?
We
Like,
don't want.
even though there is technically a Black Wonder Woman, I'll be perfectly happy if you just create a completely different Black female superhero who was just super strong or whatever, and then just gave her a background. Oh, well, she's from here, or she's this, that. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, just make a high quality character. Like, you don't
We
need to
don't.
regurgitate old. You don't need to recycle old characters. It shows that you don't care about actual representation. Actual representation is making real, fresh individuals that matter.
I'll be straight up. Anytime you take a predominant a source material white character superhero or any character source material that spanned decades of it always be constantly a specific way and being white whatever and every single thing, and then suddenly you want to make a movie and or whatnot and make money kind of thing. You flip it so that you can try and so that you can essentially I don't know what's the word uh, exploit the black community and pander to them with
And also
this
put
kind of
little
character.
effort in and be lazy, and
Yeah,
then also play the
yeah.
Black actors less because they statistically do
You
that.
are
Oh, let's
you
create
are
the same movie again, but
you
with a
are
smaller budget, make more profit,
you,
and exploit Black people or
you
other
are
people of color. Stop.
you are creating, even if your character was great, even if you did a better storyline within everything, as soon as you do that, you are creating an asterisk. You are creating an asterisk Superman. You are creating
Yeah, exactly.
uh, an asterisk to it, because you are not identifying the fact that these two characters are, as soon as you flip it, you are not identifying the black experience that goes behind it completely. You are not identifying the
Yeah,
idea that
that's true.
there is a solid difference between the cultures. You can't just put, it's like putting a black character, it's like having an Asian character in China who's everybody's known he's Asian and everything, and then suddenly go, actually, I'm gonna make that character black and then put him in China.
Like,
As soon as I said,
no, man.
as soon as
Chinese
I
people
said
be
that to
like,
you,
what you doing?
are you crazy? You know, Chinese people would turn around and slap you just because, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's so stupid, you
Yeah.
know?
Anyway, straight up, it's like, I need to go. It's getting late. So
All
this
right.
was actually a very interesting talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Explosion
Yeah,
Nation. TNT out.
man. See you later, bro. Yeah, I just wanted to talk about it anyway. I'll let you go. Okay, I'll talk to you later. All right.
All right,
Bye bye.
ciao.